Welcome to another WMUG virtual event. My name is Robert Marshall, System Center 2012 Configuration Manager MVP and WMUG founder and community leader. For this event we are joined by Aidan Simister and Danny Murphy from Netwrix, who will take us through an introduction to their change auditing tool and then lead into a demo of the tool in action itself. Okay, let's begin. Thanks for joining us today, Aidan, and Danny, over to you.
Thanks so much. Right, okay, so what I want to try and cover off today is just give a bit of an introduction as to exactly who we are, what we do, just give you a bit of a flavour for types of approaches to auditing changes that organisations tend to take you through an example, and then pass you, for the bulk of it, pass you across to Danny. As I say, he's one of our pre-sales engineers to actually take you through a demonstration itself, and then sort of wrap it up from there. So first of all, who are we? So we were founded in 2006 by a couple of people who used to work for Quest Software. We are a technical organisation through and through. Out of the 85 people we employ, a good 60-65 of them are technical. Got offices throughout the globe, and everything we're going to show you today, you know, we've written ourselves. We don't OEM anyone else's technology, and our tools are tried and tested and stable and proven in lots of different types of environments. So what do we actually do? So our whole story originally started off around Active Directory. So what we set out to do is provide a really simple way of showing you who, what, where and when changes are made to AD. And then over time people said that's great, that's really helpful, that's really simple, but I also want to know what's going on around group policy. I want to know what's going on my Exchange servers, Windows servers, SQL servers, VMware. And I also want to know what's going on my storage devices, perhaps my Windows file servers, NetApp or EMC type storage devices as well. And as I say, you know, what we're really aiming to do is provide the critical 4 Ws, so the who, what, where and when changes in a single log. So rather than having to look at multiple locations to try and piece together this type of information, we give you a single log for a single change. We've also recently introduced some technology that can help audit systems that don't create any logs at all. So that's something that Danny will perhaps touch on a bit later, or at least mention about later as well. We provide all of our auditing through kind of preset reports, or you can build your own reports, or through real-time alerts. Everything we do is based around 3 principles. For a start, our tools are really straightforward to install, use and manage, that they are really straightforward. Secondly, our approach is lightweight. We offer the option of either using an agent or not using an agent. And thirdly, it's realistically priced, because most organisations want to improve their auditing. They understand that there are challenges with using native tools for auditing, but frankly, some of the vendors out there are just too expensive. So we tried to make sure that we position ourselves as aggressively priced. So yeah, and we've got some people use our tools, kind of Pepsi, Disney, NASA. I think the important thing really from this is, you know, we're not new to the industry, we've been doing this for quite a while. In the UK, we tend to be particularly popular in the public sector, so you know, particularly in the NHS and councils and the education sector. But yeah, we do a lot of work with other types of you know, more corporate clients such as ING Direct and so on and so forth. So so our approach to auditing is much more than log management. We're going to go much deeper, and Danny will actually explain a bit more about this in a moment. As I say, what we're trying to do is provide a really reliable and consistent way, reliable and consistent alternative to trying to audit using native auditing tools. So we're really focusing on making sure that we can show you who, what, where, and when, you know, in a really straightforward way, in readable reports and alerts. As I say, you know, we're also aiming to try and provide before and after values of changes. So whereas you might be able to sort of piece together what might have changed using native logs, what we're trying to do is actually show you what the change was from as well. And I think that's quite important as well. And as I mentioned earlier, we're just trying to make sure that we keep this task really simple as well, and give you a meaningful way of archiving off these logs should you need to look to search them for at a later point as well. So one of the things that's really smart about the way our technology works is we do so much filtering of the unnecessary logs as well. And again, Danny will cover that off in a moment shortly as well. So what problems do we actually solve? So I guess it sort of comes down to 5 main things. So there's, you know, change management and change auditing. So it's a case of making sure that we can show you categorically what changes are taking place. Secondly, systems management, making sure that if something's changed, what's happened, what's changed, why is that system stopped working, why can those group of users not log on and they could log on yesterday, what's changed, who did it, how do I get it back up to the state it was in before. And then privileged user auditing, just making sure that if you have administrators within your environment, making sure that you actually have an audit trail for what they're doing. And then compliance, so it might be that you're working towards PCI compliance, ING Direct, for example, they have people coming up from all angles asking them lots of difficult questions about their infrastructure, making sure that you have all of the relevant data you need in preset reports to be able to offer this this type of detail. And then, as I say, data management sort of side of things. So if someone comes to you and says that file was there yesterday and it's not there today, what's happened to it? Someone's deleted it, they've modified it, or whatever. It's just giving you that quick visibility to that, rather than having to trawl through native logs to try and to piece these things together. So just to give you some kind of an example here, Warwickshire County Council, now they've got we scale from whether you have 10 users or 1 million users. I mean, it's exactly the same approach we take, but in this context, Warwickshire County Council have got 122,000 users across 170 sites. So they're actually, it's for their schools. Now they have an environment where you have contract staff, they actually have where people are getting made redundant, so quite a sensitive environment, a large number of privileged users, often with dual roles, so they were sort of teachers that doubled up as IT administrators, IT managers, so they have lots of privileged users, very stretched budgets, as is always the case in the public sector, and quite a wide range of different platforms and environments that they wanted to audit, because the problem they were having is they have people ringing up saying this has just stopped working, that part of my infrastructure stopped working, but I didn't change anything. Okay, so what's happening? So the guys at the council that were helping them manage their infrastructure were spending a huge amount of time and essentially money just doing nothing other than just trawling through logs to try and piece together what was happening and why these changes were taking place, and just fixing IT problems. And then from a compliance perspective, they were being asked lots of difficult questions they just didn't know the answers to. So with our tools, we help them audit their Active Directory infrastructure, their group policy, their Exchange servers, their file servers. So it then means if anyone made any of these changes, they had instant access to understand exactly what changes were taking place. And this made a lot more sense rather than having to try and piece this together using native tools. So that gives you some kind of context. So at this point, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to pass you across to Danny. Danny Murphy's one of our pre-sales engineers, as Rob's kindly mentioned at the beginning. Danny will take you through an overview as to how our technology actually fits together, how it works, what we do differently, and show you the actual products in action. So without further ado, I'll pass you across to Danny.
Thanks, Aidan. Okay, so we are going to, well, what I'm going to give to you today is a brief overview of how our technology works, and as Aidan said, a product overview. So have a look at our technology in action, and have a look at the reports our products can produce for you to make auditing easier. So our chained auditing suite is going to give you the who, what, when and where values on changes that are taking place in your infrastructure. We're going to report on previous and current states, basically giving you before and after values of the changes that are taking place. So we offer snapshot reporting, real-time alerting and report subscriptions. For an automatic delivery or an automated approach to delivering these reports. So our products can work with or without agents. Our agents are small, they're lightweight, they're non-intrusive. They're simply there to collect the data, filter out the user's information, and compress the data before it's transported back across the network. So our agents are not going to hook into your operating system, they're not going to interject in any calls to your Active Directory. They're simply there to reduce bandwidth utilisation. Now, you get the same level of auditing with or without agents. So the use of our agents is not compulsory, but we do recommend it, especially across sites that are spread across, infrastructures that are spread across multiple sites. As Aidan said, there's a lot of reasons why people may invest in Netwrix. One of the biggest drivers for a lot of organisations is compliance. So not just visibility as to who's making these changes in your network, but also remaining compliant, whether it's internal auditing or external auditing. We can provide the reports to help you with that. So let's take a look at our AAA platform architecture. It's developed by ourselves, all developed in-house. And it's the way we actually audit. We're the only organisation that audit in this particular way across these key parts of your infrastructure. So it consists of 3 parts. We've got audit assurance, audit archive, and audit intelligence. So our audit assurance technology does not only collect information or key information from event logs or native logs, it also creates, when the product's running, it creates configuration snapshots. And what it will do is collect the before and after values or the changes between these configuration snapshots. We also look at update sequence numbers in Active Directory. We make use of DiaSync. There's actually a wealth of places you can get this information from that's already existing. And what we do is we consolidate all that information together. We filter out the duplicate information. So, for example, if we're looking at event logs and Active Directory, for example, when a user account is removed from a security group, there's actually 2 events that are generated. We've got the removal of the user account from the security group, and we've also got the removal of the security group from the members of tab, the user object. So it's a single change, but there's duplicate information there. So we consolidate that information together to give you a readable report. Finally, we've got our audit archive technology for storing all of this information. It's our own bespoke developed long-term repository for all of these changes that have taken place. You can specify the retention period of this audit archive as well. So how long do you want to keep the data for? 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? It's completely up to you. We only store the relevant information, so it's very lightweight. We only store the change history. So we store the information regarding the changes. We don't store everything and then report on all of the information we've collected. We only store the change history. What we do with this information to make it available to you for reporting is copy it across to a SQL database as we leverage SQL for our advanced reporting services. Finally, on this information we've collected together, we use our audit intelligence technology so we can analyse the data. We can run off reports of all of the changes that have taken place on these key parts of your infrastructure. We give you real-time alerting capabilities, and we also provide a granular rollback capability should you need to restore specific changes in Active Directory rather than restoring the whole AD to a previous state or snapshot. So that's pretty much what it is, what we do and how we do it. But I guess to get a better understanding, it's best if we look at the products in action themselves. So let me just move across to our management console. It's an MMC snapping. The majority of our products can be accessed from this console, so it's a single pane of glass for accessing the key parts of your infrastructure and running reports on changes that have taken place. So we try to make the products as easy and as intuitive as possible. Everything's grouped on the left hand side into managed objects. So if I drop down our managed objects folder, you can see there we've got a managed object for our VMwares. We've got a managed object for our domain, our file servers, our SQL servers, for example. And upon these managed objects, we install our change auditing modules. So for example, on my domain I've got a change auditing enabled for Active Directory, group policy, Exchange. So what we can do is then it helps us manage what we're actually auditing within our environment. When we install Active Directory Change Reporter, we also have the option to install group policy and Exchange Change Reporter at the same time, as it utilises the same auditing methods for each of the products. So how does our product actually work? It's based on scheduled data collections. So by default there's a full data collection that runs once every 24 hours. Within this full data collection the product will collect all of the change information from the various sources as we discussed. It will filter out the useless information, copy the information into a long-term archive, and then copy this across to a SQL database and make it available for us for reporting. As well as this full collection that runs once every 24 hours, you can actually specify how frequent that runs and when it runs as well. But by default, that's how the product is configured when you install it. There's also a partial collection that runs every 10 minutes. So this is going to collect all of the information from all of the various sources, but it doesn't do the filtering or anything like that until the very end. So what this is going to do is enable you or give you the ability for real-time alerting for changes that are taking place as well. But it's constantly, in those 10-minute intervals, is comparing the before and after values between the individual collections. So again, collecting that before and after information. So our change reporting is what I'm going to demonstrate first of all. So with all of our products, we have over, in our change reporting suite, we have over 200 reports that are available to you. The reports are simply SQL queries, and they're grouped out into specific folders for the different reports. So our product can support any version of SQL from 2005 Express to the current version. And what the product will actually do is by running these queries, it's going to provide you with readable reports explaining to you the changes that have taken place and yet in a very readable form. So to get this information, so from the point that we've been running our data collections and recording all the changes that have taken place, from that point forward, we're going to be able to report on these changes. And to view these changes as simple as sticking on a query, selecting a date range, and running the report. So all that's simply doing is running a query against the database. We're then going to be presented with a report that's going to give us the who, what, when, and where information of changes that are taking place in our Active Directory. So we can see there the action that's been performed, who's performed this action, what it was, where the change took place, and specifically when the change took place too. Now the reports can be run from either within the management console itself,